those Christmas decorations.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Unity Spiritual Life Center in Yakima Valley. We're so glad to see you here. Thank you so much for coming this morning. Let's stand up this morning and let's sing Gifts of the Goddess.
These are the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive all the gifts of the goddess? Love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive? Love, are you ready? Joy, are you ready? Peace, are you ready? Are you ready to receive? These are the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive all the gifts of the goddess, love, joy, and peace? Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive? Love, are you ready? Joy, are you ready? Peace, are you ready? Are you ready to receive? Are you? Are you ready to receive? Are you ready to receive?
Maybe.
Good morning. Good morning. Well, first of all, I'm not Barb, and I'm not Tracy, and I'm not Jeannie. I'm Juanita, and welcome you to Unity Spiritual Life Center. Wherever you are on your spiritual path, you are welcome. And now I'm going to invite Sandy to come forward and light our Christ candle.
Good morning, my name is Sandy, and I'm going to light the Christ candle to remind us of the light burning within each and every one of us. Or not. I'll hold the mic here. Sometimes it takes a little longer for the light to come on in some of us. And if you'll join me in an opening prayer. Divine Spirit, Mother, Father, God, we're so grateful for the blessing of being able to be here this morning to learn, to share, to love, to laugh. Thank you for these opportunities. We ask blessings on our service today. We know that we're going to learn and hear exactly what we need to and what it is that our speaker is going to share with us. We're so grateful to have him here. We ask blessings on those who can't be with us today, that they will be able to be back soon. And for all these blessings, we say together, thank you, God, and so it is. Amen.
We have come into this place. We have come into this place. We have come into this place to praise the Lord.
Good morning. My name is Sharon Hampson and I'm your platform assistant today. And if you'll settle in your seat and we'll read the daily word. Be comfortable, eat on the floor. If you're comfortable doing so, gently close your eyes. Our word for today is rise. Let us affirm, I rise in consciousness to help create a world that works for all. Now please allow these words to be your words. Throughout time, there have been people who led lives that changed the world forever. Their words and deeds provided hope and inspiration for those who would carry forth their legacies of love, growth, and evolution long after they left this life. Their most powerful contribution, however, was their ability to inspire others to express their own divine purpose. As more and more people reach their highest potential, the whole of humanity ascends. Today, I honor those who have led lives of service, striving for love, truth, and justice. I take steps, not just to commemorate their journeys and contributions, but to embark upon my own. Arise, grateful to contribute all I can to the growth and evolution of humankind. We read in Ezra 10:4, take action, for it is your duty, and we are with you. Be strong and do it. Remember, friends, the word for today is rise.
Then staying in this prayerful attitude, with your eyes remaining closed, your feet still on the ground. Let's take another deep breath and go just a little bit deeper. Breathe in and out. Once again, in and out. And then breathe in your own normal manner. I want to talk about guidance. I am guided by the presence of God within me. I am one with divine intelligence. As I listen to my intuitive awareness, I feel the doors of my heart open to all I am seeking. I quiet any cloudy or doubtful thoughts and become receptive to my guidance. I begin by meditating upon the question on my heart, then releasing it gently. I then dwell in this space in complete calm and without conscious thought. I remain undisturbed as I commune with this indwelling infinite resource I can call upon at any time. As I go forth in my day, I carry this reassuring serenity with me. I welcome the assistance I receive, both within and without, as I attune myself to this guidance with a peaceful heart and a quiet mind. And let's take a few minutes in this silence. And as we come back to this time and this place, I invite you to carry these words with you. I await my guidance with quiet expectancy. Now we'll move into prayers for our community. Barb Allen, Tracy Argonosti, Jeannie Reed, Chris Roybal are all under the weather this week. And we ask for healing. Receive God's healing light surrounding them and restoring them to optimal health. And we have a request for Sue Brown's family. Sue Brown made her transition. Also hold her family and friends in light and comfort. And if there are others on your mind, in your heart, please feel free to speak their name softly into the area. And don't forget your own name. And let us hold each other in light and love. And for these many blessings, we are so grateful. Say thank you, God, and so it is. Amen.
Last week I had to apologize because I got the name of the speaker wrong. This week I don't. I gotta get to be singing. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Jackson Miggs. Yay.
I am on. Whoa. The magic of, I've seen it all happen so many times, sitting out where you all are sitting. And here I am up in front of you for a change. It's truly an honor. I really am grateful for having been asked to do this. And it's been quite a process to get myself ready for it. I've had about 3 months to work on it. And I'm in my 79th year. Well, actually, I'm in my 80th year now. I can claim 79 as an age. I've done my 79th year, so I'm in the 80th year. And I'm going to try to get all of those 80 years. So, wow. I thought about this a lot, what it's going to be like to stand up in front of folks. I just feel so grateful. And my greeting often is namaste. It's like, that means we are one. It's like, that's the shortened version, namaste. And so everything I say, it's like amazing what, how the daily word, we're talking about rise up. That's what I'm doing. And I'm also, let's see, oh, and Sandy's prayer this morning about guidance. That's just one of my major things, is guidance never stops. I ignore it a lot, but it never stops really. And so it's always my choice to choose what comes out of my mouth. And I'm in the process of awakening spiritually. That's what my talk is really all about. It's what it's part of our mission statement here at Unity Spiritual Life Center. And we're all doing it. It's not an event, it's a process, and it goes on all the time. It's going on right now. What I've tried to do is just give you a little brief introduction about where I came from, and then 3 of the major turning points in my life. So I'll start off by saying that I was born in Southern California, Los Angeles Basin, and I grew up in affluence. My dad was a real estate developer and was successful at that. My mom was a wonderful Christian spirit, positive thinker. She was born in Southern California. My dad, on the other hand, was born in Arkansas. So I got a bit of hillbilly in me. More on that another time. Anyway, it was a very pleasant upbringing, and I am grateful for that. I graduated from high school, Whittier High School, in a city down in the LA Basin, in 1960. And in the process of that last year of my life, my dad let us all know that he had a dream of getting us out of the LA Basin. And he wanted us to all live together on a cattle ranch someplace. And I'm going, whoa. And I thought, well, could I be a cowboy? I'm in. I'll do that. So I kind of got started in a weird way because he did that. He bought a ranch nowhere near 1,600 miles north up in British Columbia, Canada, 500 cow cattle ranch. And so I, upon graduation, just jumped in the car with my mom, my sister, and some others, and we went up and spent the summer on the ranch. My dad was still waiting, and my brother staying at home, getting stuff ready for the move and everything. So anyway, and then I stayed a whole year, basically, on the ranch, and decided, well, I should go to college. Pop said, sure, that's fine. And so I went to Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo, California, and got a degree in farm management, which I thought, well, now this will make me a real manager. I didn't grow up, I'm a city kid, remember. I grew up in LA, and boy, so I got back up there after college graduation in 65. And by Christmas time that year, I could see there's something not right here. Pop and I just can't really communicate very well. And at the same time, then my draft deferment for college ran out, and the draft was calling me and saying, we need you. And so I decided, well, oh, cool, I'll just do the military and get that out of the way. And then I'll come back to the ranch and everything will be fine. So I went down to Seattle and enlisted for I had a college degree, so I could become an officer. So I signed up for the OCS Officers Candidate School it's a boot camp for guys that want to be an officer. So I went through that and then wound up getting into the flight program and earned, I've got a lot of little things that I'm going to be looking for. These are what I spent 17 months to get. the Wings of Gold, Naval Aviator. It's a very high honor to actually be able to put this on and wear it. So those are my Wings of Gold, and there'll be more about that later as part of my transformation. Anyway, so I spent all that time training to be a pilot, and then I decided, well, I'm really successful now. I even get a paycheck every month. So I think it's time to get married. So I was dating a woman from Canada at that time, and I asked her to marry me, and we got married. And so then I went to Beaufort, South Carolina for 9 months to FAM in the airplane that I was going to fly in Vietnam. I knew where I was going. And so when I left for Vietnam, 9 months later, I left a wife that was 7 months pregnant with our first child, and our first daughter, who was 5 years old. It was my wife's from a former marriage. So I had a 5-year-old and a pregnant wife, and I went off to fight in a war that I just, by that time, I was beginning to notice that there are signs that this is not a real war. And it turns out it was just a total fiasco, as we all know now. But at that time, I was kind of gung-ho, and I flew 210 combat missions in Vietnam. And coming back home, I thought I didn't get wounded because I never saw any blood. But boy, I found out that I was wounded big time, as we all were from that Vietnam fiasco. So anyway, got back from, I got out of the Marine Corps in 1970 and just thought, forget that, I'll just move on with my life. And it wasn't that easy. I went back to the ranch and with my family and tried to work it out with my dad. And we went up in 72. And by 74, things were really not working out at all. And Papa and I were in an argument about something, and he fired me. So, and I said, good, I'm glad I'm out of here. We were mad at each other, you know, it's just kind of family stuff. Oh, anyway, that was hard. And it was the first time I ever really felt scared in my whole life up to that point. I was scared. I've got a wife and 3 kids by that time. We had another daughter along the way. And I didn't know, I didn't have a job anymore. My dad, I didn't think of it then, but it was my dad's dream that I had been following. I had no business being a cowboy, a cattle rancher. I don't even know what, I've never really had a career. So I just started looking for another job. Well, I got a job on another ranch, and that lasted for about 6 months. And then I decided I've got to get back to the United States. This was all in British Columbia. And so I had a college friend that had a job that opened up for me. So that's what got me into the Yakima Valley. We moved to Sunnyside, and I started working on a farm there. That was in 75. 3 years later, the first of the 3 points that I talked about happened, and that is my divorce with my wife and children in 1978. And that was the biggest item in my spiritual awakening. It just blew me out. I didn't know what to do. I was just lost, and I'd lost my family, and God. But it happened, and I had to deal with it. So I moved from Sunnyside. I was working at that time for I guess it was Rainier Bank in Wapato as an ag loan officer. So I moved up to Yakima and continued to commute and worked at the bank in Wapato, and just starting my life over again. It was, wow, it was hard. So looking back at it, I can say that was a point of spiritual awakening, because Yakima, little Yakima was wonderful. I heard that there was, I had been raised as a Christian with my mom and all, but in college, I kind of felt like I can't really call myself a Christian for some reasons. And but I heard about a Unitarian church in Yakima. So I thought, oh, well, I'll check that out. So I began attending Unitarian church here in Yakima, and that they had a men's group, and I joined that, and that was really helpful. And what I really then began to open myself to, I was hearing people talking about the New Age. And I go, New Age, what is that? What are they talking about? I mean, I was a hillbilly still. I was, what you call me. You can know the names. But I wanted to know what this New Age is. What is it? It's got something to do with spirituality, right? So somebody said, well, go down to the book note. It's at the Unity Church here in Yakima. And it's a little lady named Dorothy Emmert. Some of you remember, raise your hand if you know Dorothy Emmert. Sure, lots of you. And boy, what an amazing place that was for me. I said, what's the New Age? Show me a book that will tell me about the New Age. So she right away pulled off the shelf, The Aquarian Conspiracy. Don't know if you're familiar with it, but boy, that book talks about a conspiracy that I'm a part of. And joyfully. And she said, by the way, there's this Course in Miracles that a lot of people here are studying. So you might enjoy checking that out. And if you want a shortened version of it, Love is Letting Go of Fear by Jonkolski. It's a beautiful little book that I read first. And then I started studying Course in Miracles. I've done that for 3.5 years. Every day studying it. And let's see, where am I on this now? So, okay, yeah. And while I was in that process, still here in Yakima, I realized that's what this book is all about, is that humans, the subtitle is Personal and Social Transformation in the AIDS. So transformation, I thought, that's what I'm about, but that won't fit on my license plate. So I created this license plate and had that on my car for several years. Let's see. That's good enough for now. So change is what it seems to me that's what the spirit, this spiritual awakening that we're all about is all about. It's about we humans have to change because we can see that we're just wrecking the planet and it's really miserable. And there is a way out, and that is to wake up to spirit and know that there's only one power and one presence, and that each one of us is the light of the world. And so it's up to us to be the peace we want to see in the world. And that's a challenge. Anyway, so here in Yakima, my kids just stopped coming every other weekend like they've been doing because they had social lives back in Sunnyside. So I was here and I thought there's more New Age stuff going on in Seattle. So I'm going back to a big city like where I grew up. So I moved to Seattle and I wound up living in a communal household on Capitol Hill with 12 other people. It was such a beautiful situation. It was an intentional community. We shared Sunday dinner always together and everybody had chores. It was just a really cool place to live. And while I was in that process, excuse me, I realized that I wanted a symbol of my transformation that I'm personally going through. And this has to do with these little wings that I showed you earlier. The centerpiece of those wings is a shield. I'm sorry I don't have a PowerPoint here, but there's a shield right in the middle of that. And I looked at it and I thought, well, and of course, the miracles had taught me in my defenselessness, my safety lies. Wow, what a radical concept and a beautiful concept. So I adopted that. In my defenselessness, my safety lies. So it's not about killing all the bad guys that this was all about. And so I did a process. You can't see the pictures for sure, but there's the wings, these wings, they're wooden copies. I just got them when I was in Japan one time or the Philippines. And so I started carving off the face of the shield, kept carving it off and finally, and then I cut the little corners of the shield off and turned it into a heart. And so that's a symbol that has hung on my wall ever since as of the transformation that I made personally in my life. And boy, everything that I do is try doing the best I can to show up and be this change. So. Seattle, Queens. Okay, first little part was my first 35 years. That second part took me from age 35 to age 55, and it wasn't all sweet and wonderful in Seattle. I got married again, and then divorced within a year. My second marriage lasted a year. I was a classic Vietnam vet, but I had never been wounded, so I didn't know that I didn't need any help from anybody. And I got a K through 8 teaching certificate, so I was teaching preschool, but I was going through some really tough times. And finally in '97, just had a kind of a meltdown, breakdown. And a friend of mine that was working for the VA said, you could get, I said, I can't afford therapy. He said, you're a vet, right? So you can get help down to VA. So I went down to the VA hospital in Seattle, beautiful place. And they just threw me in the hospital right away. And I spent 2 months in the hospital with therapy and medication, and pulled me out of it. I was suicidal. I was just really bummed out. So that then started the next big event of my life, which is that they said to put in claims, and I didn't even know what they meant, but that meant a claim for a disability as a result of my military experience. I didn't ever think that I deserved that. I'd heard of PTSD, but that was for guys that were on the ground and right in the middle of the bombs and the guns and all that. But I was the heavy hitter. I was the guy that called when these guys on the ground needed help. And bombs, rockets, guns, I flew 210 combat missions. And that really injured me. So my claim came through, and all of a sudden I'm 100% disabled. So I have an income and medical benefits, and oh man, it was like, whoa, freedom, total freedom. So that's the name of this little segment. No more money worries. I thought that was everything. Well, so the first thing I did then was find out that there was a vet organization that takes vets back to Vietnam to have an experience of healing. It's called Quest for Healing. And so I did a trip with them in the year 2000, and it was a healing experience to see Vietnam. Nobody was mad at me. There was nobody carrying guns, and it was a beautiful place. It was certainly a third world country, but it was what a relief to know that there was no sign of what we call the Vietnam War. They call it the American War. So anyway, that was a beautiful trip. And then in 2001, I did a lot of fishing, had a lot of fun. And on the last fishing trip in September of that year, on the way to our high mountain lake that we were going to hike up to and fish in, me and a couple other guys, we heard on the radio something about some airplane that ran into the big towers in New York City. 9/11, that was the day. And we went ahead and fished, but we listened to the radio as much as we could getting there, and it was like, what? And then coming back, we stopped and had a beer and watched all the, that stuff. 911. Whew. 2 months later, my brother, that's another long story, but my brother committed suicide because of that. So that was kind of a shock. And I did another trip to Vietnam with some peace tree people. And so during this time then, I was always seeking the truth. I was always seeking enlightenment, I guess. And I went to IONS conferences, Institute of Noetic Sciences. It's a wonderful organization. And through that, I learned about nonviolent communication. And I thought, that's something that I'm interested in, because I've been about as violent as a human being can be, and I don't want that anymore. So I started studying NVC, and not sure where I'm supposed to go with that. It has become kind of my mission. I'm working on writing a book. It's called The Art of Noticement, Simple Art of Noticement. Noticement to me is, I was studying nonviolent communication and I realized that the first step of NVC is to describe what the situation is with no evaluation. That means no judgment. And I couldn't do that. And as we did practice groups, nobody can do that because we're all so used to blaming the bad guys and pointing to them and they're the problem and I'm okay. But, so I decided the problem was that I didn't notice that I was judging. I mean, holy smokes, I'm judging all the time, every little things and big things and just judging all the time. So it became my mission in life to learn how to not judge. And I thought, well, yeah, stuff does happen. So I thought, well, if I notice it, I guess that could be noticement, replacing the judgment. It just gives me a chance to stop and pause and think about it before I start yelling and screaming or taking somebody's head off. And that's important. So I'm working on this book and it's all about noticing my judgments, noticing my cases against people. I guess there'll be another talk, maybe another time about that. Because that was all very helpful. And I was living in Tacoma. And then my youngest daughter and her husband of 15-year marriage and 4 children divorced, decided they were going to divorce. And I was studying nonviolent communication. I'm saying, you don't need to do that. They had no interest in listening to me. I'm pop, right? I'm grandpa, you know. So I had to watch that, and that just crushed me emotionally. And I thought then, you know, I've been following them around, moving around Bonnie Lake and Tacoma and places, trying to stay close to them and be a good grandpa and a good dad and all that. I'm going to California. I'm going to go back home and see what happens. So I did. I just went off, sold my house and went back to California. I lived in San Francisco for a month, in Mill Valley for about 1.5 years. And let's see, I got this license plate when I was in Mill Valley to remind myself that noticement is important. I'm always got, oh yeah, always got a license plate. In fact, I'm still following that word around here in Washington. When I came to Washington, finally back to Washington, I have a Washington plate with that word on it. It's in the parking lot out there. So anyway, that brings me then to and in that traveling, I was in California. I lived 3 years in Sebastopol, California, which is a beautiful peace town in California. They call it Peace Town. It's a nuke-free zone. And it was beautiful. And then I heard some other people that were really amazing people. I was looking for consciousness, higher consciousness. And I heard about something going on in Ashland, Oregon. So I moved back to Ashland, Oregon, and kept looking for where do I belong. And I'm kind of moving back toward where my kids are, but I'm not going back there yet. And so I was in Ashland for about 3 years altogether. And finally, let's see, this was when I was about 75 years old in Ashland. I was diagnosed with very aggressive prostate cancer. And I went, oh, well, what's that about? And I know now that it's probably about all the negativity that I've gone through and then keeping inside and blah, blah, blah. But I decided, well, I don't think that's gonna take me out, but it might. But so now my job is to get back closer to my kids. And they're in Yakima, they're in Selah, actually, 2 daughters living in Selah and 13 grandkids. And so I moved back to Yakima at the age of 75. It was
2017.
2017. That was beautiful. Okay, so I got back closer to my family, and I got a urologist and the North Star Lodge over here, beautiful facility, and we got the cancer completely beaten. I've got no cancer in me at all. Maybe even skin cancer. Anyway, great stuff. And the highlight of my whole life is this woman sitting right here in the front row. who most of you know well, was the minister here for 13 years and was retiring just when I met her. I watched her do her talks right up here and just fell in love with her. I was like, wow, we're on the same page. I even found out at some point that her license plate was "We Are One." Oh, this is cool. So that started my current situation, and it's all good. Oh, that's one of my favorite things. Cheryl said I shouldn't wear it, but I just had to bring it along. This is one of my pajama shirts that she bought for me. It says "all good." This is, yeah, I'm sorry, it's not a PowerPoint thing, but I wear that often, and that's kind of a mantra that I speak. It's all good. If it's all the stuff that we talk about here at Unity and other New Thought places, if that's true, then it's all good, and it's just so good, it's hard to believe, but let's just keep practicing it. Practice makes perfect. That's what the simple art of nourishment is about. We're practicing talking to each other differently so that we can actually get along with each other and stop this nonsense of war and all that stuff. So that leads me to my last little thing. I bought this in Sebastopol, and it's one of my favorite quotes. By the way, I haven't talked about the quote that's in the bulletin. That's another story, and it's about the simple art of noticing. So oftentimes it happens that we live our lives in chains. We never even know we have a key. If we notice it, we don't have to do it the old way. So that's that. This is Gandhi's famous quote, "Be the change you want to see in the world." We've all heard that, right? And so that's what we're singing about, is being the peace. And it takes courage. These are Chinese, I guess, Mandarin symbols for the word courage. And I love that. It's like, yeah, it takes courage to stand up and be the change, because geez, people are going to argue with me. Well, that's none of my business. I got to be this change. So I think that's probably a good place to kind of finish up. Have I forgotten anything, hon? Oh, this is one more thing. Yeah, we've got another couple of minutes, right? This came to me this morning as we were waking up. This is a book by a guy named Ashley Brilliant. That's his picture on the front. The title is "I Have Abandoned My Search for Truth and Am Now Looking for a Good Fantasy." And it's a beautiful book. It's full of little pictures and little sayings. I guess he has another book called Top Shots, but one of my favorites was one like, well, this one here, if a couple together, if only we didn't have each other, we could still long for each other. It's that kind of humor that the book is full of. This one, and this woman sitting here on a rock looking back over her shoulder, she says, "I will always love the false image I had of you." So humor is a big part of it all too. I don't know, I guess I've got a mission statement. That was important to me along the way. That was Stephen Covey, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And so I've done a mission statement my whole life, but I think I better stop at this point and we can talk about that another time. I love you. Namaste. Now you can turn me off, right?
That was awesome. It really was quite a story. Well, we all start somewhere, right?
Yes, and that's really some of the stuff that you already talked about. Is like, that's why I would speak, is just to encourage everybody else to just don't worship me, just do it yourself.
Oh, sorry.
I am opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. I am opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. I am opening up in sweet surrender to the luminous love light of the one. I am opening. I am opening. I am opening.
I'm getting my exercise today. So, Jackson, that was wonderful. I'm gonna come visit you and get the names of those books. So, announcements. I won't go into great detail since you all have a bulletin. We do have the weekly Zoom meditation, so take a breath, take a break and take a breath. Marilyn Freed does a meditation on Zoom, so the link here is on her website. Wednesday morning book study. Marilyn, have you started with the book, new book?
Yes, I wasn't there because I thought I was going to be going on a trip, which I canceled.
Okay.
So I didn't attend, but I believe, I don't think anybody has said, I believe it happened.
Okay.
No.
No,
It didn't.
it didn't start. Okay.
Uh-oh. Well,
Okay.
hopefully it will happen.
Maybe this week. Maybe
It's
this
a
week.
wonderful book,
Jen?
so,
Okay.
yeah.
And it's a fun book. It's Into the Magic Shop by James Doty. And we read it and it's a really good one if you want to join. Little free library. Somebody donated 2 big bags of children's books, so we'll set them out. And I know other people are going to be bringing some novels. So we do supply the little free library, and also there are a few Christian type spiritual books back there if you wanted to take a look, but it's right by the restroom if you wanted to take a look. But if you have any novels that you want to declutter from your home, we're more than willing to take them here. Coming up, the Epiphany celebration is canceled.
Actually, it's
Change. So it'll be on January 23rd. And there will be king cake. So,
it's basically just part of our regular service.
okay, so the 23rd, please come and help us celebrate Epiphany. After service on the 23rd, there will be a town hall. So join us for all the updates. And also there'll be a voting on some t-shirts for Unity. Temple Shalom will be holding Betty Mann service here at Unity on Sunday, January 23rd at 2:30. And Chris sent out a flyer on that, email on that too. So just a heads up, they will require proof of vaccination if you want to attend that. So please come celebrate if you want, if you'd like. January 23rd, guest speaker, Reverend Cheryl Bates. And the 30th is Reverend Black Eagle. Also on the 30th, Pastor Black Eagle mentioned he really liked pie, so we're going to do a pie potluck for that service. So please bring some pies. And also know that it doesn't have to be sweet pie, it can also be savory pie, probably. So just an idea. New members class, Saturday, February 5th from 9:30 to 11:30. If you have been attending for a while and want to learn more, or if you want a refresher as a member, please come. Reverend Cheryl will be presenting that. Do you want to say any more on that?
Let us know if you are on Zoom and really would prefer to come on Zoom so that we can set that up too.
Do we have any other announcements? Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention that the moments of blessing are starting back up in the community. That is where there's an act of violence that results in a homicide. Different people from all over, neighbors, friends, churches, go to the actual site of violence. We have a 15-minute service there and to heal the spot, and I've been doing it for several years. It's a wonderful opportunity to not be desensitized about the crime in our community and to practice forgiveness on all levels. And it's a wonderful experience. And there is one starting tomorrow in the 1100 block of Chestnut, I believe, where there was a recent murder. So just wanted to put that forward.
Thank you, Janet. And also, we've had some leftover items from people who brought goodies. I'm gonna bring this up because they've been sitting around for a while. So if anybody belongs to these, please collect them. Otherwise, we'll probably put them in the garage sale or just incorporate them with our own Unity items. And do we have any other announcements? Okay, if you'll join me with the affirmations. Prosperity affirmation is together.
In awe and gratitude,
Our vision,
a world powerfully transformed through the growing movement of shared spiritual awakening.
and our mission.
We empower individuals to collectively transform the world.
Great, thank you.
This is a part of our service when we get to share with each other the abundance God has given us. So I'm going to ask, does anyone have something they'd like to share? Sure, you have a mic, so.
I just wanted to share, I'm house sitting for a friend and, a couple. And while they're out of town for a week, they have 2 dogs and a cat. And I haven't had pets for many years. And it's quite the experience, and it's a blessing too. I mean, I was nervous at first, but I've just been enjoying being around the animals and experiencing them, so it's been fun.
Yeah. Our animals give us some lift up sometimes, at least mine does. She barks and that lifts me up. Any others? Marilyn?
This is kind of a reverse abundance. I canceled the trip. I was supposed to be going back to Arizona and went on to Mexico. I was gonna leave on Wednesday, and right from the time I planned the trip, I was feeling like I really don't want to do this, but so I love Arizona and I love the friends I was going to see. It's kind of like I don't really want to travel anymore. I'm 80 years old now. It's kind of like, I think my traveling days are done. I was getting more nervous about it. And then my neighbor was going to come over and watch the cats, but there's one cat who wants to keep getting out, and I was worried about that. So then I decided, well, I'll just board the cats at the vets. And that seemed to solve the problem for a while, but as the time got closer and closer, I was getting more and more nervous about that. But anyway, I kept telling myself, don't be so silly, don't be so silly. You know, just go ahead, you plan this trip, you pay for it. So I was all packed up and ready to go and take my cats to the vets the morning of my trip. And the closer I got, the more I was crying, the cats were crying. And then I thought, this is ridiculous. And you know, I don't want to do this. So I turned around, got back home, let the cats out of their carriers. And I was so relieved. It's like, oh. So my gratitude is that I listened to the guidance, and it was a kind of reverse guidance, but it was, and it's kind of like within myself, I already knew that I didn't want to do this, although, you know, we all have this idea that travel is so wonderful, and you know, I love these places I've been to before, and I love them, and part of me I'd like to go back, but I didn't want the whole process. So it's like, yeah, I'm home, I feel good. Thank you. That's my funny abundance.
My name's Andrew, and the honesty and openness has been very refreshing, and so it's given me the courage to share a recent abundance. I got more and more shut in with friends in the hand club dying of COVID and all that, and so I got isolated too long. So I had a wonderful opportunity to spend 7 days in the psych ward at Swedish over in Seattle. And it was a wonderful thing. It was so zen, you know, it's all minimalist, you know, and these people are all unique, and I am too. So it turned out to be this time of abundance in this minimalist zen retreat setting, connecting with people who've been meth freaks and young artists that, you know, were losing it with despair of the world. And I just had the greatest time, connected with like 8 new people, and I'm so grateful. It broke me out of that fear shell of isolation to the COVID, and I decided to come here and visit today. So thank you so much for your message, and it's authentic, and I'm full of hope, and there's a world of abundance.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're glad to have you here today. Yeah. Did you have something to share?
Hi, my name is Janetta. I'm visiting today. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I've been a UAD student since I was about 4 years old when I learned to read somehow. Mom got me Wee Wisdom, I think, to keep me busy. Some of you know about Wee Wisdom magazine. My abundance thing is, as you guys were talking, I thought about, I got called upon, I'm a traveling physician, pediatrician, and at the last minute, I got a call that they needed me here. This is Tuesday between 1 and 2 o'clock. I'm getting my car serviced in Atlanta, that they needed me at Toppenish at 7 a.m.
Wow.
And a company contractor once put me on a 5-something plane. I got, oh, I ain't gonna make that. So I rushed to pack everything up at the hotel. I'm in between homes right now. Jumped in my car. Old neighbor has my car. I missed my 7:43 p.m. plane.
Oh, dear.
But by that time, I also got notice that because I was supposed to stay overnight in Seattle and take a plane into Pasco the next morning, that wouldn't get me here to 10. Well, that got canceled. So I called the company and said, I need a car in Seattle. They got me an all-wheel drive. And I think the blessing was that I understand the pass had been closed and it opened up at 8 o'clock. I made it through the pass. And got to town, got to Zillow about 5:30 in the morning. I learned to drive in Indiana, thank God. And driven in Upper Peninsula, Michigan, South Dakota reservations, all that stuff. So I'm grateful that I was able to get here and help the hospital out. I've had a few days off. I'm back on duty tomorrow. But again, I said, let me get to the Unity Church because I don't get to do this very often. I'm one of the people that was, I don't know if you know about the Nehemiah retreat. I guess I should wear my t-shirt that says Nehemiah retreat. It's that they hold twice a year at Unity Village. And I try to go at least every fall. I went this past fall. I'm one of the painters. My dad used to do remodeling, so guess who his sidekick was? I'm very grateful to be here today. I'm grateful, and I realized, I told my friends, I said, that pass is no joke. But I am grateful that I made it here.
Yeah, we are too.
You're here as well. You've added extra to our service. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Cindy Chartier, and this is my first time coming here, and I love it so far. No, but I lived in Sela. I moved there when I was 14. My dad was in the military, and he died on my birthday. And so that was what brought me to Sela. And I lived there and went to high school and a couple years of college, and then went over to Seattle. And I've been in Seattle for 40 years. And luckily, I've studied yoga for about 30 years, a little over 30 years. And I've been able to teach it, yoga and meditation, for the last 16 years. So I feel so blessed to be able to have that as a life. I'm not saying I had a lot of money. I just winged it. I had a lot of faith and I had a lot of trust. And so, I came in here and I went to the Unity Church over in Seattle and absolutely loved it. And so I'm so happy to be here today because I feel a real kinship already, and it's my first time walking in here. And so what I wanted to do was be able to, I teach chair yoga too. I teach people from 2 to 92. And so what I'd like to do is offer this church, my services to have, and what I do with yoga is what yoga actually means. It means uniting our bodies, our minds, and our spirit, and then the entire universal spirit. Yeah. And so it's not about just stretching or, that's important. That takes the stress out of our bodies. But connecting all of those really make a huge difference. And we end up having synchronicities and just all sorts of magic occur the more we're able to connect kind of our entire being, right, with the rest of the universe. And so I wanted to offer some chair yoga. I don't know who's in charge here, but I'd be happy to do that. Once a month, once a week, or whatever. If you guys want it, I'm here.
Contact information, and we can pass that on to the. All right. Any others? By the way, Jenna, can you get some new visitor packets?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can't ask you then to bring up the offering plate, can I?
I just wanted to say that I'm extremely happy to have my Unity family. That's my abundance.
We are glad to be here for you too. Okay, if our offering could come forward with our ushers. Someday I'm gonna learn how to talk. Together, divine love flowing through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. Jill, about ready to ask you. That's okay. Heavenly Father, thank you. Thank you for the abundance that each day offers us. Thank you for the blessings you pour upon us. Thank you for safe travels. Thank you most of all for your love that is shared here with each other. In your precious name we pray. Amen.
If you'll honor the child within each of yourselves.
I love you.
We bless you and we appreciate you just the way you are.
And then if you'll stand, and we'll do the prayer of protection.
The light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
And then if you sit up. Comfortable doing. The song is in the front and on the back.
Getting there.
Yes, there is peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Yes, there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God our Creator, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me, as this is our moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
Another one in the books, folks. And thank you, all the Zoom participants.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was wonderful.
Yes, I'm glad you enjoyed it.